Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today is Tuesday, April 23rd, 2024, and this is the special meeting of the Litchfield Elementary School District Governing Board. I hereby call this meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is going to be the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could please stand and join us. Thank you. Next, we are going to move on and take a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Next, we are going to move on to recognitions and celebrations, and this is going to be done by Executive Director Nuanez. I'm really excited about these celebrations because this one's a good one.
I am too. Madam President, Governing Board members, Superintendent Davidson, fellow cabinet members, guests, and most importantly, the incredible volunteers of the Litchfield Elementary School District, present and online. As we gather here tonight during National Volunteer Appreciation Month, it brings me immense joy and pride to celebrate the remarkable efforts of our volunteer parent organizations, regardless of their titles, whether it be PTA, PTSA, PTO, and or Booster Club. In every corner of our district, their selfless dedication and unwavering commitment shine bright, illuminating the path for our students to soar to greater heights. From the provision of playground equipment and shade structures to the immeasurable love and support they shower upon our students, their impact resonates deeply within our school communities. This year, their tireless endeavors have created many highlights of success, such as books for every student. The sight of our students engrossed in reading, fueled by the books provided, is a testament to the enduring legacy of their kindness. A themed luncheon orchestrated for an entire school in celebration of meeting fundraising goals exemplifies their ability to foster a sense of unity and camaraderie within a school family. It's moments like these that remind us of the power of community and the joy of coming together to achieve shared goals. Other highlights, an exhilarating Apex color battle where their dedication and hard work culminated in raising over $8,000. $8,000, that's not a small feat when you think about a local school level. This incredible feat not only brings communities closer, but also underscores the boundless possibilities that arise when we unite to a common goal. Today, as we stand in awe of their accomplishments, let us also express our deepest gratitude to each and every volunteer present, and also to those who were unable to attend due to prior commitments, who have contributed their time, energy, and passion to make a difference in the lives of our students. Your unwavering commitment to putting the best interest of LESD 7-9 students first is truly commendable and serves as an inspiration to us all. In the Litchfield Elementary School District, we are honored and proud to work alongside such dedicated community members, for we know that together we can achieve greatness. So let us continue to forge ahead with determination and compassion, knowing that with the support of all of our volunteers, the future is indeed bright for all of our students. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts, each and every one of our volunteers, for all that you do, because together we can and together we will. Let us give us a hand to all our volunteers. If you're part of a PTA, please stand up. Thank you. We're gonna do it during so we can do it all at the different time? During the cookies? Okay, all right. We want to take the picture now?
Yes, if we can have all of our parent leaders, please come forward. We're going to take a picture of all of you because you all are so amazing and special, and we appreciate you every single day.
Let's do one with the individual schools, and then we'll do one with everybody. Okay? All right. Okay. Yeah. It's simple. All right. Hero, symbol. Awesome. Thanks. All right, hero. All right, that's all right.
For everyone that's here, there's treats in the back. Please make sure to go grab some. We're actually going to take a 2-minute break so they can grab their treats and leave if they need to leave. But I just want to thank all of you for everything you do. I was where you are and now I'm up here. So look, you guys could come be on the board next.
I will say to President Zinema, who I know this is a very special place in your heart for PTAs, PTOs, PTSAs, booster clubs. I don't want to leave anyone out. And I was just talking to our newest board member. So outside of Ryan, who has a pass because he doesn't actually have children in school yet, the other four board members all participated in PTOs, PTAs along the way. So we've all been volunteers and have moved our way through the school system that way. So I think it's just important to note that volunteers are literally the backbone of our school district and everything that we do here in this community. And like Melissa said, you can be just like us one day if you wanted to be. So
I took my soon-to-be kindergartner to her like opening night, and I signed my wife up for the PTA.
I was about to say they get you on that very first night. So I am surprised they didn't already have your number in their phone ready to go.
Okay, we are going to just move along here because we have quite a bit of discussion and action items coming up on our agenda. We have no public comment, so moving along, we're going to move on to the adoption of the agenda and consideration of consent agenda. I'll go through and see if anyone has any items that they wish to pull off. And Ms. Clymer, do you have anything you'd like to pull off?
I do not. Thank you.
And then we'll go to Ms. Wallace over here, her first meeting. Everybody, round of applause for her first meeting tonight. Did you have anything you'd like to pull off of the consent agenda?
I do not either.
Mr. Owens?
I do not.
Ms. Moran?
I do, yes. I would like to pull off agenda item 6.4, the classified employment change hire.
Okay. Then I don't have anything to pull. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda minus item 6.4 as presented.
I will second.
Having a first from Ms. Clymer and a second from Ms. Moran, I will call for the vote. Ms. Clymer?
Yay.
Ms. Wallace?
Yay.
Mr. Owens?
Yay.
Ms. Moran?
Yay.
I'm also a yay. Motion passes. We will now move on. I guess that will be item 7.1. Ms. Moran, go ahead. I'll let you open this discussion.
Yes, as now should be pretty clearly precedents. There are 3 leadership positions on this consent agenda item. The new hire for Director of Purchasing, the new hire for the Director of Technology, as well as the Executive Director of Human Resources. If we could get some additional information from Dr. Davidson or any other folks that are up there that would like to provide information on the hiring process, as well as the candidates that they are recommending for hire, I would appreciate additional information.
All right.
President Zeidman. Check. Got to hold it close. All right. President Zeidman, members of the board, and Ms. Moran, thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak to this agenda tonight. I'm going to speak globally around our process and around some of our applicants, and then each of us will speak directly to those that are under our supervision. First and foremost, from our strategic plan perspective, we know currently one of our core areas is people. Inside that particular strategic plan area, you talk about recruiting and retaining quality staff. Certainly from a superintendent's perspective and throughout my career, I've always been a fan of giving people opportunities to go seek other opportunities for themselves. Perhaps individuals need growth. Perhaps individuals need to see just to have another opportunity. So tonight's experience where we're talking about recruiting qualified staff, please note, it's a great opportunity for us as a district. And we're excited to be able to speak to those joining the team tonight in the process that we went through. One of the things we know that's really important from an HR lens is simply to make certain we have a process, one that is viable and one that does give the opportunity for individuals or stakeholders to give feedback. I can guarantee you through the process and through the things you hear tonight, all those existed. Stakeholder input was given, allowing us to bring to you tonight 3 top candidates, and in some cases, award-winning candidates in their respective fields. So we're just very excited about that tonight. And I think not only award winners, people of good character. And for me, that's really important as we consider where we are today and where we want to be in our future. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Vaughn to speak about our Director of Purchasing.
I'm very excited to have us be considering approving Tammy Garrett as our next Director of Purchasing. Tammy comes to us with over 22 years of experience in education and some business experience prior to that. The Director of Purchasing position has been vacant for many months now and has been being filled through a part-time contract agency. We've gone through several rounds of interviews. I'll speak most closely to the most current one. We invited 8 or 9 candidates to take part in the process. We first started by inviting them to respond to a written exercise to get a better idea of their background and understanding of the unique rules and requirements that come with not only government procurement, but school district procurement. And then from that, we invited the top 3 candidates from the written process to join us for an in-person interview. And Tammy was unanimously the top choice of our panel. Our panel included some of those that she would work most closely with, including members of the purchasing team, an office manager to represent that constituency to the position, as well as other members of the business office, some other directors, and even the consultant who's currently been filling the role. And so we're very excited to bring Tammy's leadership to this position, and we're excited to begin moving forward in this area.
That brings me to the Director of Technology. First, of course, it's sad that we're gonna see Mr. Cruz take on a new journey. We'll wish him best of luck as we get closer to that. And we know he's got a lot of work to do before he leaves, but we went through this rigorous process like we have with every other position. A lot of work to do, a lot of work. Maybe we won't be able to leave on time. The rigorous process has been in place since we've been hiring all these different directors. Of course, we took 4 of the top 12 that were had applied, and all 4 of these had school experience. School district experience is what we were looking for. And so as we went through this, there was six of us in the room. We had personnel from our technology department, of course, a school principal, HR, and then our lovely office manager lead, just to make sure we have all the voices that we can get around those that interact with them the most. And so I'm fortunate to introduce Ruben Montoya. He comes to us with over 23 years of experience. Very unique path, as he started as a 3rd grade classroom teacher, moved into an instructional technology coach. Then he was the lead instructional technology coach. That led him into the Director of Technology, currently at Alhambra. And so over the last 23 years, he's demonstrated high level experience with technology as a teacher, and then being able to share that knowledge with others as he's grown in his career. So we're really excited to take him on our team. We'll get him and Brad connected so they can powwow together and make sure we know what ins and outs need to be covered as Brad moves on. So it was a great process, and we're excited for the next step.
Thank you, Mr. Stone and Mr. Bond. And I will close by discussing our candidate for Executive Director of Human Resources. So in a similar fashion, we had multiple levels of interviews for this position. We also kind of had the threshold as the minimum threshold of, have you been doing school district human resources, and have you served as a leader in that particular area? That brought us to 5 top candidates, practitioners across the Valley and in other cities here in the state. They were invited to the first round. Again, numerous questions, as well as a variety of stakeholders there to give feedback. 2 finalists were selected and brought to the final round. A different group of individuals, again, making up of all numerous district stakeholders, were present to provide feedback as well. Just a real fun interview and an opportunity for us to hear the passion and the excitement and the vision for human resources here in our district. With that said, we bring tonight to you candidate Miss Sandy Satterfield. Sandy has been doing human resources work for numerous decades here in the Valley, and has certainly has, just provided a lot of insight and support to numerous district leaders across our state as well. So we're excited to bring her as a candidate tonight for Executive Director of Human Resources. And with that, we stand for any questions. Thank you.
Ms. Clymer, did you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but just one comment, and I'll try and keep it brief. Just wanted to say thank you to Director Cruz. He's been here for a long time, and he's brought this district a long way over the years. And us getting technology for every student and upgrading our district facilities. I mean, it's been through a lot. So we appreciate you, and we wish you well on your journey ahead. Also, I haven't had the pleasure of meeting the other two candidates yet, but I have had the pleasure of working with both as a governing board member and as a parent, Principal Garrett. And I can't imagine the decision-making process you went through to get here, but I will say that the district office is going to be very lucky to have her. Both of my kids went through her school, so it's a little emotional for me thinking that you might not be a principal again, but know that you're going to excel in this role as you have in your principalship. I'm sorry, I don't mean to make you emotional. But just am so excited to see leaders in this district growing and expanding their horizons and doing things that are going to help our district in even bigger and better ways. Seeing that impact is pretty awesome. So thank you for all that you've done for our district, the two of you, and to Ms. Satterfield and Mr. Montoya. Welcome to the team, hopefully.
Ms. Wallace,
I have no questions or comments. Thank you.
Mr. Owens,
Nothing from me, thanks.
Ms. Moran.
Yeah, I would just like to second everything that Board Member Clymer said. I think that obviously I know Mrs. Garrett, my three children have gone through Westman Sky. My youngest is an 8th grader there now. So I know that her attention to detail is going to be paramount in this new position, and I think she's just going to do an absolute fabulous job. So I am I appreciate the thoroughness that the team has put together. I think everyone now, the cabinet, is pretty experienced at interviewing in the last year. We've had a lot of position changes and turnover, and I think that we have a good system down on including the different voices that need to be included to make sure that we are hiring the best candidates and that we are not leaving, gaps where they shouldn't be. As well as I've been pleased with the number of qualified candidates and applicants that we are getting for these positions. There was a time that we as board members were told that people didn't want to work for this district, and that time, if it ever actually existed, is clearly in our past. So I think it's great that we have a lot of people who want to come work here. I think that's a testament to our leadership, and I welcome everyone to the team.
I don't have any questions, but I just want to thank you guys for coming and joining the Litchfield family. And with that, if someone would like to make a motion.
I move to approve item 7.1 of the consent agenda as presented.
I will second.
Having a motion from Ms. Clymer and a second from Ms. Moran, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Clymer,
Yay.
Ms. Wallace,
Yay.
Mr. Owens,
Yay.
Ms. Moran.
Yay.
I'm a yay. Motion passes. And officially, congratulations and welcome. Okay, we are going to move on now. Hold on, sorry. Dr. Davidson is gonna introduce our people. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm just trying.
No,
to keep
thank you.
going.
And I appreciate us trying to hustle. But with that said, I know that our newest team members brought some of their friends, their families, their colleagues around to celebrate tonight. Before we move into the big part of the agenda, can we just take a few minutes to greet them and maybe you guys have a chance to meet them? I know there'll be some picture taking, that type of stuff.
Absolutely. I'm so
Okay,
sorry.
Thank you.
We will do that.
You had me at cookies.
There should be some still, yes, sir. We got, there's some back there.
You're good. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
So. Okay. Are we ready to get back into all our fun discussion and action items? Ms. Moran, are you ready to get going too?
Ready and willing.
Awesome. We are going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the superintendent performance pay for 23-24 school year. And this is going to be led by Dr. Davidson.
All right. Thank you, President Zina, members of the board, those in the audience and those online. Ms. Moran, I appreciate you being here as well. So tonight's opportunity for a vote is for us to continue to look at the my goals and objectives, essentially revised based on the conversation from last meeting, where I try to capture feedback from the team and look at the variety of sources that we would use to determine whether or not that particular action step or goal was met. So you can see some additional items that were placed under goal 2, goal 3, and goal 4, just to give insight onto how we would measure those and how it then essentially equated to a performance pay piece at the end of the document. So I'll stand for any questions or any concerns that the board may have. Again, I just wanted to highlight, especially Ms. Wallace being new, we had adopted some expectations and performance objectives earlier in the year. Those had a timeline to be met. We did that, but we also felt that there were some additional things that we could focus on this spring and moving into my evaluation and or performance pay conversation at the end of the school year. So that's why you see this document now. In a typical fashion, this would have been done and will be done as we move through the summer and start next school year. So just, it's a little awkward for those superintendents in year 1. So thank you again, President Zeidman, and I'll stand for questions.
Just to follow up on that, because he's in his first year of his contract, it's a little, we're not supposed to do a full evaluation. So that's why things are a little different this year. They won't look like this next year and going forward. But I will start with Ms. Clymer. Did you have any questions or comments about this item?
No comments necessarily. One question, or just the only comment is thank you for incorporating the feedback from last time. I think this looks good. We had a good conversation last time, so I don't have anything new to add. But one question is, if we do approve this tonight and the board votes to approve it, can we attach those 4 performance goals that we discussed? I'm trying to look back. I think it was like August or September. Will you attach it somehow to this document so that we can have them both together?
Yes, ma'am.
You understand what I'm saying?
I can do that, certainly. We just simply, for today's sake and for the document's sake, we highlighted the date. But yes, ma'am, we can put those as part of the document.
Yeah, and it doesn't need to be in any formal capacity, just as we prepare for the other one, just to have them both together, because while I remember those, and I'm sure that I have the document somewhere, if we can just keep them together, that'd be helpful as we're going through it. But yeah, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Ms. Wallace, did you have questions or comments?
I did not have any questions. I did look through all of this and I thought it looked great.
Mr. Owens?
I did notice there was no like rushing yards or receptions added in here based on my comments last week. Thanks for you getting it. Questions for you. Do you think this is fair?
Thank you, Mr. Owens. And at this time, yes, sir, I would certainly say it's fair. These are things that we are working on. And certainly, as you know, none of this happens in isolation. So my team and I are definitely finding ways to positively influence the outcomes of those goals. And so for today's perspective, I would say yes.
It's fair. Do you project or predict that you will achieve all these goals?
I would love to stand before you and say the answer is 100%, but there are some variables. Certainly from a student achievement perspective, I have to rely on the hard work of our teachers in our classrooms. And if it all plays out how I saw today in one of our pie tours, we're going to be in great shape. And I tell you, we're going to nail that achievement perspective. From the other areas, I do think we will be able to have a fully met response. But there are certainly some variables, but I do feel confident. Yes, sir.
Good. Thanks.
Mhm.
Ms. Moran?
Because I want you to. That's
Thank
what I
Yeah, I just appreciate the additional definition behind the goals 2, 3, and 4. I know that's what I asked for last time, was kind of more measurable, what we'll be actually be looking at specifically for those goals. And I understand that we have some flexibility even within what's here. And I definitely look forward to fine tuning this this summer and getting a more defined tool that we can use going forward into the next year that will be even more rigorous than what we see here.
I do not have any questions. I think this is good for us trying to have something in place for this year. I do think that next year is going to look a lot different depending on how our conversations go this summer for when we have our retreat and we start figuring out what next year looks like. But this is exactly what we need to do this year. So thank you very much for putting that extra time in and getting this put together and incorporating the feedback that you got from all of us. With that, if nobody has any other questions or comments, I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the superintendent performance pay for the 23-24 school year as presented.
I second.
Having a motion from Ms. Clymer and a second from Mr. Owens, I will call for the vote. Ms. Clymer,
Yay.
Ms. Wallace,
Yay.
Mr. Owens,
Yay.
Ms. Moran.
Yay.
I'm also a yay. Motion passes. We are going to move on
Thank you.
to item 8.2, the science adoption addition. This is going to be by Mrs. Benjamin.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the governing board. Director Combs and I are here this evening to ask for some additional funding that is for our K-5 science adoption. If you'll remember last year, we approved the science adoption for K-5 and 6-8. 6-8 was rolled out this school year with Amplify, and K-5 is going to be next school year. We did that in phases because we also knew that our K-5 teachers had iReady math that they were still rolling out, and we wanted to give them time to really have a full understanding of that. So we are asking for additional funding because the company a year ago did not have the same things that they do now. Now they have some Arizona-focused science kits that go along with the curriculum that we're adopting. And this would replenish those kits for 5 years for all of our teachers, K-5, including our traditional academy classrooms, as well as our specialized programs for special education. So with that, there was an additional cost, partly because we waited an additional year to complete this, and also because we were adding the traditional academy classrooms in our specialized programs. So we are up here to answer any questions that you may have.
Ms. Clymer.
I don't have any questions on the curriculum itself. I mean, I know that we went through this, feels like it was yesterday, but I know it was like a year ago. So I'm excited that we are, after almost a decade of very little curriculum updates, really getting or having the ability and the opportunity to supplement the curriculum that we've had for a really long time with this. So I am absolutely in favor of continuing this. Question for you. So we will start, so the 5 years will start in the 24-25 school year, and this will align with the price that we've already paid. So then both will expire at the same time, I guess is what I'm asking, or run the course of the same amount of time.
So the 6-8 will actually end a year before because we started it this year, but the K-5 will end 5 years from August. But this is a one-time fee. So once we paid it, we are done for 5 years.
Okay. And the kits are for both K-5 and 6-8?
So we already have the kits for 6-8.
Okay.
And because it was 30 teachers, our science center is actually replenishing all the consumables. But this was going to be 300 teachers. And we wanted to make sure that we had a continuous flow of being able to replenish those consumables, cups that get used, paint, whatever the things are that are in those kits that, we got to go buy each year. We wanted to make sure that we had an ability to replenish those so that our kids always had access to the materials that they needed. And our teachers didn't have to go find them or buy them because we know that they do that a lot.
Absolutely. Well, and just the consistency across the board. Every school is offered the same kits, the same information, and no one has to go anywhere to find it or procure other additional resources. Last question, budget. Where is this coming from? How are we paying for it?
That's a great question. It will come out of the capital funds as long as this is approved here. So there is funding already set aside by our favorite CFO. So he is ready and okay with it as long as you all are.
Okay, willing to just sign that check, are you? All right. I mean, if you're in a good mood, then I think there's some other things people might be willing to put on that list. Thank you very much.
I'm in a great mood after our consent agenda passing, so.
Well, you're welcome then.
Ms. Wallace, did you have any questions or comments about this item?
I don't have any questions. My questions would have been the same, and I 100% support having the materials needed for the teachers where they don't have to go out and purchase them themselves and being ready. And if you don't have the materials to do the assignments and you skip over them, you're missing the best part of the curriculum. So it's very important.
Mr. Owens,
No questions. Thanks.
Ms. Moran?
Yeah, my only question was on the funding source. And can I just follow up with that by asking, I know that some of our new curriculum that we've adopted over the last couple of years was paid for by ESSER funds. I just want to triple check that our ESSER funds are all being utilized elsewhere and there's nothing else that's still available.
All our ESSER funds will be used this year by the end of the year as the funds are expiring. We wouldn't have the time to shift this into ESSER because some of the additional requirements that the state has put on to these funds. So to be able to get this done in a timely fashion, we'll be utilizing the remaining ESSER funds for other items that we've previously discussed, the increase in contracted staffing, et cetera. And this will live in our capital funding.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I have no questions. I'm excited for this curriculum to get out to our elementary school kiddos and they can really dig into science the way we all know is good for them. And it incorporates everything that's important in learning in education. So I'm excited for this to happen. With that, if somebody would like to make a motion.
I move to approve the K-5 science adoption edition as presented.
I will second.
Having a motion from Ms. Moran and a second from Ms. Clymer, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Clymer?
Yay.
Ms. Wallace?
Yay.
Mr. Owens?
Yay.
Ms. Moran?
Yay.
Also a yay, motion passes. We are going to just keep moving along here. Next is consideration to approve a resolution authorizing the lease of certain energy conservation measures and related financing. This is by Executive Director Stone and CFO Vaughn.
Good evening, Governor Board, President Zaidama, Governing Board members, Dr. Davidson, Cabinet, those in our crowd and watching online. I get to come forward today to continue to talk about our presentation with Verigy as we move through this and talk about being more energy efficient across our district. And so we bring forth some similar things that we had last time. Of course, the strategic plan alignment and how it goes with what we want to continue to do, take care of our students, our staff, and of course, our resources. The continued background, of course, it's in compliance with ARS 15-213-01. Verigy's the only local and self-performing K-12 energy service company. And energy savings pay for the project by installing district-wide solar, LED lighting, efficient HVAC equipment, other advanced facilities, technology, water efficient features, and the building envelope. And then it's great because there's still the Inflation Reduction Act from the federal government that we hope to capitalize on if we approve this project. The program areas, the areas that we're talking about taken across the district is dynamic LED lighting at schools without current LED lighting. Of course, that would be Blinn Soda already has it as they were built recently in Verrado Heritage. of replacement of HVAC equipment, 15 years or older. We currently have over 500 units that are over 15 years old. New building automation and smart technology in all schools, allowing us to work more efficiently when we're setting up timers, options, lighting that can go off automatically. Adding covered parking for solar structures at all schools. Taking care of building envelope, the weather stripping, sealing at all the schools, windows, doors, that type of stuff where the air comes in or the air goes out, and once again adds to our inefficiencies and our utility costs. And then, of course, there's the rate switch for some of our electric utilities that never got switched over with the school rate. And fortunately, with the work that we've done with them, recognized that there are schools that aren't on the school fund rate. This will help us save some money there also. And then, of course, the potential for domestic plumbing upgrades if we choose to go that route as well. Of course, the purpose is to save in utilities. The approximate utility cost is $2.12 a square foot. We spend over $2.8 million a year, not including water. If approved, we would save approximately $1.9 million the first year, right? It shows how our lighting is very dated. Our HVAC units have huge impact, and adding solar would really save us some money there. The savings would be used to finance the improvements to our campuses. And the great part is we know some of this work, as we'll talk about as we move on, aligns with our audit from the Bureau Veritas last spring, and that has in there updating many of these features as we talked about. And so we would be able to accelerate that, as we know the bond sales for this year and next year are primarily going to the new school, which means we wouldn't be able to do any of these things. So by doing it together, it really allows us to accelerate that timeline and get things moving. I know this is very small, and you've all had it at one other time, but just shows the alignment with that audit that was done in the spring. And then touching in on the HVAC, the plumbing, the electrical, the fenestration of facades, and the interior work that we would be doing through this type of work. So at the end of the day, right, there's a total cost to it. And so we've kind of put two options here. You can see the first one is at 44.5 million. That would include an owner contribution of us at $6.3 million. There was the option to maybe not include water, that water part of it. And that's something we'll continue to dive into as we have those finalized numbers and work with Dan and his team and Alan and his team to really determine if that is the best usage for it. But if we chose not to do the water, you could see it's at $43 million, and it would lessen our contribution. And then where does that contribution come from? Our bond programs already were going to do some of this work. And so we could see through the HVAC work based off of the Bureau Veritas report, we were going to do this much worth of $5.5 million worth of work in the next 3 to 5 years, and similar lighting at $2.7 million. And so we kind of talk about, we see $8.2 million worth of work there that was going to be done already. And so the owner piece kind of aligns with that work. This kind of touches on the plumbing fixtures, as it's been a conversation between our team at Verigy and the work we want to do with it. And so just outline some of the work that they would do is updating the China, and then doing that to kind of combat the future costs that we have no control of. And you can see here some of the items kind of talk about the regional growth impacts of water rates and infrastructure. And then, of course, the forecasted increase of 5% that I go back to, we have no control over. And so by doing the water fixtures, it could help us combat that to an extent. And then the timeline for completion, if approved, we would anticipate starting July 1 and finishing in about 24 months out. That kind of gets us under the dates for the federal rebate programs. Gives Mr. Ensign a lot of work to do too. So as I talked about that acceleration, the first $30 million is going to the new school. The next $18 million is going to the new school, which would leave us $2 million of bond sales after 2 years of bond sales. And we quickly need to jump into some safety renovations of front offices and continue that work as well. And so by partnering these two together, we get to accelerate the HVAC work, the LED lighting work, and really move together with the new school. And the purpose, right, is really about being more efficient, and we get a savings with that. You can see the federal rebate is at about 30%. We anticipate that would give us a rebate of about $3.7 million. And then, of course, we want to do our work. Our homework around this is, we talked the last time, sounds too good to be true at times, right? But it is guided by state laws. I talked about ARS 15-213.01. It's federally regulated. There's also an independent third-party validation registered by an engineer. And of course, Michael and I were able to sit on those interviews for that engineer with Verigy to choose someone who aligned with our goals. And then we've also been in partnership with Fusebox to do some consulting services to look at the line item dollars that we say we're going to save with the work we're doing, right? And so we want to make sure that with this $44 million, it matches the savings that we've talked about. Through all that, going to change this a little bit. We recommend to approve the Guaranteed Energy Savings Project, not to exceed 40 million with a 7 million owner contribution. I want to line item out the include the water projects. I still think that's under consideration with Mr. Ensign and Mr. Van Horn and their team. And then, of course, School 17 and equity as we build that. So we stand for questions.
Ms. Clymer.
I don't have a lot of questions. I mean, this is the same information that we saw before. So I think we had a pretty robust conversation last time. So thank you guys for joining us again today and going through this with us. Really, the only question that I have, because I don't remember touching on this, was the inclusion of the water projects versus not. And I know that you said it's not necessarily baked in. We may approve that tonight in terms of cost, but you may change your mind. So explain to me what water projects are. What does that include? It seems like it's about $1 million in terms of owner contribution, but what does that entail? What does that mean?
It's changing to low flow toilets, right? So instead of a 5-gallon flush, it's a 3.5-gallon flush.
Okay.
Hypothetical numbers, right? Don't hold me to those, but that type of stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So we have some like that already in our district with our hand wash stations, right? We would just improve and make sure those were top notch, ready to take care of all that.
Okay. So is that in connection to when you're talking about the plumbing fixtures and all of that stuff, that's the same thing. So that is part of that cost already. That's not an additional cost to that.
Correct.
Okay. That's where I was confused. Okay. That's perfect. My last question, and I'm only bringing it up because I'm looking at slide 11, I believe, the timeline acceleration. I don't think this question is for this conversation, but I'm just putting the bug in your ear so that we can talk about it the next time. You have July 2025, you have $2 million sort of left over, what I'll say, from what we're planning on spending with the school. And then we have another year until we start tackling the safety things. I'd just like to open the conversation if there's any way to accelerate any of those safety things that we're planning on doing. I know doing all 16 schools and all of that is probably not in the cards, but if there is any, I know we've started with some TGICs, we've started with some other things, but I think, finding a way to accelerate any of those safety items. I don't know what the other $2 million is going towards. So that's just asking to put a pin in that conversation, and then we'll come back to it when the time is appropriate.
It's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Wallace, did you have questions or comments?
I feel a little behind on all of this because I haven't talked about it before. But the small amount of experience that I do have with my children's school is the HVAC system is very disruptive to learning and definitely needs to be improved. My kids are constantly getting moved from one classroom to another because of rooms not air conditioning. So I understand the need for this to happen sooner than later.
Ms. Wallace, a quick tidbit. We have over 900 units. We employ one HVAC tech. Well, we did. He has resigned and moved back to Wisconsin, but we will employ one. But Verigy definitely will be a great partner in this as we continue. Like I said, 15-year-old units are very difficult to maintain and upkeep with one tech, but this will really put us in a good spot to hopefully minimize that across the district.
We had an HVAC tech from Wisconsin. They don't even have.
Like, had come out here to get a job, I guess.
So I think last time you showed this, there were schools that are, other districts that are doing this. And so I'm glad to finally be a part of that. I think this is a great move moving forward, a way to upgrade our equipment, make, school a better place for our students and save some money.
Ms. Moran.
Yeah, just to elaborate a little bit more on what Board Member Clymer was asking earlier about the water piece. Can you tell me more about why that is now being singled out? Is it just not as clear cut for the payback, or why is this segment kind of up for debate?
Yeah, members of the board, you remember me and Shannon from last time, so thanks for having us back. The water payback in this case is what we would consider to be kind of neutral. There is a value there. It was 25-ish, something like that, thousand a year. So there is money there to be saved. It's just when you look at it, you're like, okay, do we want to do this or not? Is it really adding that much to the overall project? It definitely helps. But really when you start looking at it, then you're like, okay, like if we don't do it, what would the risk be then at that point in time? So then we look at historical rates, what your water companies have done in the past, what water companies around the valley are doing. We have to look at areas that are starting to be more populated where they're building out, which you guys are in areas like that. Typically these water companies, then you'll start to see them ramp up and then all of a sudden, bam, their charges start going. So the WIFA page that we had up there with the dials on it, that kind of gives us insight on each water company so we can see where they stand. And we can look at the areas that you're going to grow in. And we're like, okay, yeah, these guys are going to be hitting you with rate hikes as you build these out. So in theory right now, if we're looking at 5% across the valley, that's been the average. I would say you absolutely can expect that. We've seen them 23% in build out areas, so they can really leap. So we just wanted to kind of bring that back to you guys and have you look at it and kind of get in consensus with it. Bottom line is, I mean, the savings have to pay for it anyway, but it does reduce your owner contribution. So we thought that was significant enough to bring it to your attention.
Okay, thank you for that. And I think even a neutral in this case, if we're replacing fixtures that have been there for years, I feel like even a neutral is really a win in this situation. My other comment is on slide 12, which touches on the Inflation Reduction Act. So what I want to say with this is that this is currently the law, obviously. And so I think that it is smart to take advantage of this while this is still law, because from a personal standpoint, with solar and energy type things, at one point this was set to be reduced. And again, it's currently the law, but depending on what happens this fall and in the next year or two with who is in control of what with our laws, this could change. So if we're able to accelerate our timeline and be able to take advantage of these rebates as they currently are, I think that's a win as well.
I don't have any questions. I think everybody kind of hit on them. We have talked about this a bunch. So thank you guys again for coming out and being here for questions we may have. I want to make sure that I understand. You're asking us to approve this with the water in it, although we might not do that. So I just want to make sure that I'm understanding what we are approving, because it says in here with water, but then you said maybe not. So
If we said with the 40 million and the 7 million owner contribution, that would cover the water. And so I just didn't want to pigeonhole us by saying the water piece. Like I said, as we dive into that final piece with Dan and Alan's team and Verigy, I just didn't want to be stuck in something.
Eric, can I step in for a second?
please do.
So sadly, this agenda item is very similar to, for example, when we approve selling our bonds. So if you wouldn't mind reading that lengthy recommended action that's in board docs, because that has all of the nice legal language that we need for this action item. Thank you.
Okay, so since I have no questions and I understand now, if somebody wants to make a motion and use the little slide in here that tells us exactly what to say, we'll say it right.
Got it. Any other questions?
Anybody else have any other questions? Nope. Good. Okay.
Okay. I will, yep, I got it. Okay. I move to adopt a resolution authorizing the lease purchase of certain energy conservation measures within the district from Verigy LLC or an affiliate through a tax exempt equipment lease purchase agreement with a bank or financial institution as determined by the district with assistance from a placement agent, authorizing the execution of various documents relating to such energy conservation measures and the financing thereof, and delegating to the district superintendent and chief financial officer the authority to select the lessor and escrow agent and complete such documents within the parameters set forth in the resolution.
And I second.
Having a motion from Ms. Clymer and a second from Mr. Owens, I will call for the vote. Ms. Clymer,
Yay.
Ms. Wallace,
Yay.
Mr. Owens,
Yay.
Ms. Moran,
Yay.
and also a yay. Motion passes.
As we move forward, I will start to put these projects at each school in our Friday board report so you can see the full scope.
Perfect. Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sounds like we just gave you a lot of work, Dan. There you go.
Well, I mean, we gave you a new job. What did you expect? I mean, what do you want from us? Director Ensign, come on.
Okay, we are going to move on to item 8.4. This is going to be by CFO Vaughn, and it's going to be talking about the new school.
Board President, members of the governing board, cabinet, community, I'm very happy to talk to you today about our next step in the build out of elementary school 17. We have completed a process, a procurement process to select the construction manager at risk for school 17, and we are asking for approval to move forward with negotiations. We released a request for proposals that was released to almost 900 vendors and ultimately looked at by 39. We received 6 complete responses from very qualified applicants, which we put through a multi-stage vetting process that include both significant written responses that was evaluated by a team and then in-person interviews to continue that evaluation. Core Construction has been selected as the potential awarded vendor pending your approval tonight. We stand for any questions. Thank you.
Ms. Clymer, did you have any questions?
I don't necessarily have any questions, just one comment that, obviously this is a very important role in school 17. And I have not been shy about talking about how quickly I would love for this school to be built. That aside, I think, obviously by the administration recommending them, I think the answer to this is yes, but I just want to make sure, 150% sure that because this is such a big part of building the school and there are millions and millions of dollars of public tax dollars at stake, that, Michael, you specifically having, sort of led this group and reviewed this, but the team as a whole feel like, this is the best group, not just in terms of price and the RFP, but the best group to represent our district and get done what we need to get done because we are on a mission and we don't have time to mess around. So I just want to make sure that, this was done and this is completely buttoned up and they are ready to be a partner with us and move on.
Yeah, they definitely were the number one candidate in our process. I actually can't speak to price yet because part of what we're getting approved is for us to negotiate price, very similar to how it worked with the architect. So I can guarantee you we didn't select them because they were the cheapest on the street. All candidates were looked at in a variety of ways in regards to their experience, but also their availability to really dedicate the needed time and energy to our project. And that's a really significant part of selecting someone for this work, especially in this time in the K-12 environment. This past bond season was one of the most successful in the history of the state. So there is a lot of construction that will be going on. And so that was a very significant part of our evaluation. Core very much showed that they not only have the expertise in the K-12 space, but they have the team that's ready, willing, and eager to really dedicate the time to this project. And the other thing I'll point out is the great benefit, if we move forward tonight, that we will be receiving in bringing the construction manager on at this point, because we're so early in the design of School 17 with the architect. There will be opportunity for significant synergy between the construction manager and the architect, so that we can have the whole team on board and really push this project forward the way it deserves to be. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody wants to be top priority, right, for someone, and it just needs to be us. So that's all I have to say.
Ms. Wallace.
I don't have any questions, but I appreciate the information you just shared.
Mr. Owens.
Yeah, this is my first experience with the new school. I know these decisions to pick core wasn't based on their golf team score at the Litchfield Elementary Foundation golf tournament. So you touched on it though. They know like our budget, right? And then they're probably going to be pretty close to our full budget, I'm assuming. Any builder would probably do that, right?
Yeah, we through the procurement process, the budget for the school was published. They had to respond as part of the procurement concerns on the project. So we did hear from some candidates, both from the architect perspective and the construction manager perspective, either happiness with the budget or
unrealistic,
might be a little
or,
bit
yeah,
tight in a little area, in a couple areas. So the expectation is the school will cost what it costs. The benefit of the construction manager at risk, though, is that assuming we don't change the scope of the work, once it's designed and everything is truly finalized, the at-risk part means that the construction manager truly is taking on the risk of additional costs increase. So they truly do become a partner in this, as opposed to just the vendor that's managing the construction, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and having lived in the West Valley and grown up here, you know, if you drive by any school that's being constructed in the West Valley over the years, you see these three builders, you know, pretty prevalent. So it was, you know, I have confidence in the three that finalists, and definitely have confidence in core. So.
Ms. Moran.
Yeah, I have one comment and then one question. My comment is just to piggyback off of what CFO Vaughn said, which is that the advantage of having the construction company named at this point in time is, as I think any of us who have dealt with architects, whether personally or professionally in the past, they of course favor design and don't always think about the price. And so having core, if we approve them tonight, to work directly with DLR Group from the get-go, from the design process, will be helpful. And also having, of course, Director Ensign and CFO Vaughn involved as well will help to keep the costs in check, because we can just make sure that the ideas are practical and still in alignment with our budget. So I think that is great that we're going to have everybody on board and be able to have a real team collaboration from the beginning. My question is, tell me more about the evaluation committee. So I see the folks that were on there. It makes sense to me. How was Jay Green, who is the president of Waltz Construction, how were they brought into this group?
So I'll share a couple of things, and then if you don't mind, I'll hand it over to Dan for a little bit more information. Dan Ensign, our Director of Construction. The procurement rules in regards to CMAR, construction manager at risk contracts, are actually unique in that they legally require school districts to include representation from a construction company that did not choose to respond to the solicitation as well as an architect. You can see on our on the agenda item, we share that the architect came from DLR. That makes sense because they are our approved architect for School 17. Obviously, we didn't have a construction company necessarily to pull someone as a default for the other role. And so we leaned on Dan to a certain extent to find a qualified person to help us with that part. I'll hand it over to Dan now to talk a little bit more about what that looked like.
Yes, Ms. Moran, Dan Ensign, Director of Construction. Yes, Waltz Construction actually was on our vendor list, and they saw the project and they noticed that it did not fit within their realm of construction. So they actually volunteered to sit on our committee. One, it gives them an opportunity to see how CMRIS project goes through on that process, but also to be able to assist the district because they are a local company around in the area. They want to make sure that our bond dollars are spent respectfully. They do provide a large service when they do this service to us because it's many, many hours of reviewing proposals and then sitting in on interviews and things like that. So we do thank Jay Waltz from Waltz Construction and DLR for their service in helping us to select this CMA risk.
Okay, great. Thank you. No further questions.
I don't have any questions. Thank you guys to all of you that have put in all this work. Obviously, we have made it very clear that we want this school done as quickly as we can get it there. It seems to me that them being a partner with us and them taking on some risk also makes them want to get it done quickly too, so that they possibly avoid the risk of costs going up and them having to pay it. So I'm excited for this to get moving. If someone would like to make a motion.
I move to approve the award of contract number 24007, construction manager at risk for the new School 17 project to Core Construction as presented.
I will second.
Having a motion from Mr. Owens and a second from Ms. Clymer, I will call for the vote. Ms. Clymer,
Yay.
Ms. Wallace,
Yay.
Mr. Owens,
Yay.
Ms. Moran.
Yay.
I am also a yay. Motion passes one step closer to School 17, guys. Okay. Moving on. Next item on the agenda is the approval of Community Education Department tuition rates for 24-25, and this is going to be by Executive Director Stone, and I'm assuming also Dr. Stone. Dr. Stair is going to come present.
All right. Madam President, members of the board, every year we examine our income to expense ratios and look to see if we actually need to raise tuition rates. And so this represents that work. Am I in control of this? In the past, I've had to ask. All right, there you go. I feel so empowered. We didn't get the memo to dress in black, but otherwise I think I'm ready. Let's see. As you can see, we're proposing that we increase the tuition for all of our preschool programs for $50. That's actually for the full day rate. I think it's $21 for the half day rate, and then increase tuition for extended day between $5 to $13. That comes out to about a 4% increase for most of the rates, but actually $43 for the PM only rate. And that represents the median of 10 similar districts to ours. We're well below what other districts are charging. We're definitely the cheapest game in town on our PM rate. And that would bring us up to the current median PM rate. And if they're all raising theirs 2 or 4 or whatever percent, then we'll still be a little bit behind, but this would balance our budget. Increase the extended day registration fee from $42 to $50. Again, that's kind of the median rate for, we surveyed 10 other districts that are similar in demographic to us. And some are more than 50, some are less, but 50 is right in the middle there. Let's see. Of course, we want to make sure that we can continue to provide the necessary resources. I also want to note that just the supplies for extended day and balls and furniture and everything else have become much more expensive. And so our managers are saying we're going to need to raise our supply budgets, which we haven't done in many, many years. So that figures into our cost estimate here as well. I note at the top there that our DES childcare grant funds have now been expended. That was a one-time payout back in October, and those are used up. Because of those, we've been in the black in extended day and preschool all year. Preschool would have been in the black without the grant, and extended day would have been close to in the black without the grant. And so we don't feel like we're far behind the 8 ball here, but in preschool, our tuition is currently meeting our program costs. However, with the 2% raise and other increases in program costs, it wouldn't next year. We would need to raise it in order to maintain our fiscal solvency. The proposed increase will compensate for pay increases, inflation, increased licensing fees, program costs. During COVID and the years that followed, the couple years that have followed COVID, our licensing bureau did away with licensing fees. We've been paying $1, and it's been easiest for me to just pay that out of my pocket because I don't have to put in a PO in that way. But they're going back to charging our licensing fees again. And now they're doing it on a yearly basis, whereas it used to be every other year. And so that's a yearly cost now. The financial impact, I noted at the top for extended day there. 3 years ago, we raised our tuition by 2% because that's what our payment processing fees charge. But when we look at what we actually pay for payment processing, both in software fees and payment processing fees, it actually comes out to it's absorbing 4% of our gross income. So that figures into the presentation here as well, that an additional 2% so that we're not losing money on the parents' ability to pay online. Without the grant, current tuition falls short of costs. Our rates align with the median rates of comparable programs, except for in that PM only program, which is right now $43 below the median and represents half of our extended day tuition. So we have 9 or 10 different rate structures, but that one rate structure, PM only, represents half of our extended day income. That's just what most people use. And then the proposed increase will meet program costs and compensate for anticipated cost increases. And so, of course, the families are affected by this. It's hard enough to make ends meet right now, but we have 1,240 active accounts as of today, and we're on track to have even more next year. Registration is pretty robust this spring. And of course, it affects our current and prospective employees. The rates would begin in August 1st of 2024. That's always a question, is would this summer camp be affected? No, we published this summer camp rates the last time we raised rates, and so they'll stay stable. And then the next summer would be affected by it. Are there any questions about this? Do I need to go back and address any of these slides again?
Ms. Clymer, did you have any questions?
Can you give me, I know there's so many various forms of pricing, half day, full day, morning,
Right.
morning and afternoon, just afternoon, all the things,
Yes.
employee pricing, et cetera. Can you give me just an example, right, of maybe your most used? So I don't know if PM or AM and PM is your most used, but tell me what the current price is. I see what the increase is, but what is the current price? And then with the increase, what will it become?
Right.
So if I'm a parent, I have one child in school, whether it's PM only or whatever, what do I expect? What am I paying now and what do I expect to pay later?
I'm glad you asked. So our current PM only rate, which, like I said, that's half of all of our accounts, is $222 a month. And this would take it up to $265 a month, which, like I said, is right at the current median. And I would assume other districts are raising their rates for next year. So we'll actually still be a little bit behind the median, but way closer than we are now.
Okay, and that is for, this one in particular, when we say PM only, that is for every day after school, every day that we're in school, not including obviously spring
That's
break
right.
and holidays or
That's
whatever.
Our
Okay.
most expensive rate is AM and PM. AM programs are more expensive to run because you have fewer kids, but you need just as many adults. And so that right now is $336 a month. And what we're proposing would take it up to $349.
You've done these presentations to me and to these board members plenty of times, so you know what I'm going to say next, which is like, this gives me total heartburn that we're going to raise rates for families. And I understand it was what needs to be done, but I also know that there's, a lot of families that entrust their kids to us because not only are we the cheapest, but we're the best and the safest, and we love their kids the most. So there's a lot of good things about being in our community ed department. But I do understand that costs are skyrocketing for a lot of things, and we're just trying to keep up. And so what I want to ensure is that if we have to raise rates, we are going to do it in a responsible way that says, okay, this is going to keep us moving forward and not jeopardize any, budgets in the future, right? Like this is going to keep us in the black. We don't have to worry about, 8 months down the road coming back and kind of having to go back to the well on it again.
Correct. It's been an iterative process back and forth between Michael and Eric and I and everyone we can think of who can give us some input on this. And, we try to balance that, why not raise it a lot and then be really solid? But that's a huge impact on our families. So we try to balance that impact on families where we're not doing too much all at once, with, again, making sure that the program is in the black and that we're paying the bills and keeping the lights on and paying our employees.
Yeah, I'm absolutely in favor in making sure that our employees are compensated fairly and well, and they're receiving, every bit of that they should. But I also don't think that it's important. That's not the right wording. I don't think it's a priority of mine to say just because someone else is charging more means that we can. We need to do what we need to do for our program, and I think we need to stay at or below that median because I want to be an affordable option for all parents in the district that need to use this service, because this is something they just can't live without. You can't work, you can't do that if you don't have a safe place for your kids to go. So I'm in agreement if this is, gives us the ability to regulate our own costs. But I just want to be careful of, saying that we can charge more just because the others are. So I'll leave that there.
If I could follow up on that really quick, our use of the median is not to determine what we should charge, but what is affordable in the market. And so, if we, like you said, we still want to be the cheapest game in town because we want it to be affordable for our families, but also it's on campus. They stay here. They're not busing to some other, private daycare somewhere else. And there's that added risk to it. We want them here. They're comfortable with their campus. They know, everybody knows them. It's the safest, best place for them to be. And so we want to make sure that we're remaining affordable, and still meeting our costs. So, the median tells us how far we can raise it and still remain affordable, and still meet our costs, but we don't want to go further than we need to, because again, our families need to afford it. I can say that each spring, if we raise costs, there's always a few families that say, okay, we're out. And then they withdraw. And within a couple months, they almost always come back. They look at what else is out there and they say, okay, it's still the best deal.
Yeah, this is still the best choice. So, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Wallace?
My only question is in regards to the fees that have gone up because of online processing fees. Is there any way to offer parents or are we offering parents a discount if they do pay by check or cash and don't use those systems?
We are not, simply because 96% of all of our payments are either EBT or credit right now. And so just nobody's asking for that. Nobody's, it used to be when I first started the job, we would have several dozen people. We'd walk into the office and you got change and can I pay with a check and that kind of thing. And that office is a ghost town anymore. People just don't pay in cash, and they're all using electronic. So if there was a call for that, we'd certainly be willing to set that up.
I just don't know if they're seeing an increase, if you say, a way to keep your cost $8 less is to pay by check, that if that would be something that would be attractive at that moment.
Sure.
Or not. But again, I don't know how cumbersome that is versus using the system that you're using.
Sure. I'll meet with the office gals and see what it would take to do that. I know we do a deposit every day. Sometimes there's nothing in it, but we still do a deposit every day.
Mr. Owens?
Yeah, you're not lying about a robust registration process. Like,
Yes.
I'm setting my alarm for 11:58 p.m.
I
waking
know.
up.
Yeah.
I can refresh, find out at 6 a.m. Again, refresh. Got in, and now I have to vote to increase my $43 a month. So
Congratulations.
when I vote yay on this, it's going to be $43 more per month for me too. So, but I understand why it's necessary. I think it's, it's just part of the times.
Michael wanted it $80 more. I talked him down. So.
Just wanted to share that my first board meeting ever with the district, I had the same experience. I had just gotten Maddie signed up, and Ron was kind enough to raise my rates that same day. So
anything for a friend.
Ms. Moran.
Yeah, I just want to say that I am really glad to hear about the survey process, that we did look at what our competition, if you will, or what other districts who compared to us are doing to make sure that we're in line with that, because our goal here isn't to be for profit, but our goal is not to have to supplement these programs from other funding. And so it should be self-supporting, our community ed department. And so, or the preschool and extended day specifically. And in the past, that hasn't always been the case, or one has been more self-sustaining than the other. So I like the way these rates look. I don't like that we have to raise rates, but I think that just right now it has to be expected based on where we are as an economy, and we're always giving raises to our extended day and preschool folks as well. So that should relatively be expected to go up. So for me, looking at this, the two things that I'm looking for is are we breaking even, or a little bit on the other side, depending on how that's going? And then are our rates reasonable? And I think both of those questions can be answered with a yes. So I'm in favor of this new pricing structure.
Thank you.
So I don't think that this question is something we're going to answer right now, but just possibly something in the future, and it could be totally unrealistic. So feel free to tell me that. But is there any way that we could use like our free and reduced lunch stuff to have some kind of different rate for our families that maybe qualify for that? And so then when we do these increases, that's much more difficult for those families. And it's totally possible that you can't answer that right now, but just throwing this out there because we will talk about this again next year, but just a thought that I was having.
I can answer in the short term that typically a Title I set aside would be used for that kind of thing, and Title I monies are being reduced at the moment. So that's what we're being told anyways, that Title I's going way down. So I would love to see some kind of program where we can help families that are lower on the economic ladder.
Okay. That was my only thought. So thank you very much for putting this together.
Is that a good answer, Michael? Sorry.
The only thing I would add is there's some legality around looking at specific free and reduced lunch status for certain things. And so we would need to work with legal counsel to ensure we're not stepping on any of those laws. Dr. Stair certainly is right that one potential funding source of that would be Title I funds, and presently the district's Title I funds are pretty heavy, leaning towards staff already. And at the federal level, Title I dollars are decreasing. And considering the significant staffing restructure we did for next year, I'm not sure this would be the right time to pull additional funding back from staff to move it to that type of program. The other thing the district would have to be very careful of, which is one reason why I'm always thankful to hear the board's support for keeping this program solvent, is we are not legally able to use M&O funds or any funds really outside of the community ed space for this type of funding. So you would have to find a specialized funding source very similar to Title I, or structure the fees in such a way that the community ed was still paying for it. It was just kind of shifting money around to do that sort of program. But that's certainly something we could look at the feasibility of, but I don't know that I'd be prepared to say it is feasible, if that makes sense.
Totally understood. Just like I said, throwing it out there to see if that's even an option, but thank you so much. I don't have any other questions. If someone
Thank
would like to make a motion.
I move to approve the Community Education Department tuition rates for 2024-2025 as presented.
I will second.
Having a motion for Mr. Owens and a second from Ms. Clymer, I will call for the vote. Ms. Clymer,
Yay.
Ms. Wallace,
Yay.
Mr. Owens,
Yay.
Ms. Moran.
Yay.
I'm also a yay. Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Stair. With that, we have concluded all of our business for tonight. So Mr. Owens, you're up.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
I will second.
Having a motion for Mr. Owens and a second from Ms. Clymer, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Clymer,
Yay.
Ms. Wallace,
Yay.
Mr. Owens,
Yay.
Ms. Moran.
I am a yay, but I'm just going to add that I think the adjournment duties need to be shifted to Board Member Wallace, but that's a side note.
We'll keep that in mind next time. I'm also